the youngest group of voters, Gen Z voters, but it's such a big pool, we also can show you everybody, all adults. So look at the comparison here, getting a look at this generation. Again, when we say Gen Z, what are we talking? We're talking people under 30 years old, newest, youngest set of voters.
Anushka Sharma says she doesn't follow all the social media work trends because she doesn't think jobs are necessary. She doesn't think they're necessary at all. So you say you don't like a boss being able to control you at work or tell you what needs to be done?
Absolutely. It is so controlling, and they put out all of these fear tactics, and it's soul crushing. It's something that we are not meant to do as people here on this earth. We are not meant to work for our money. Money is something that can come towards us.
I have a question. Do you get what they call hungry?
Set of voters. Overall, what you're seeing here is Donald Trump not that popular. You see, overall 45 approve, 55 disapprove, but much less popular. It's basically 2-to-1 disapprove among Gen Z. This is a more anti-Trump, Trump hostile generation than we see in the other generations. This extends to Trump policies, trade, tariffs. Again, overall, not that popular.
What's the worst thing he's done so far that would warrant an F-? Supporting innocent people. Supporting innocent people, yeah.
Yeah, all of his crimes, the like 34 felonies or whatever.
Okay.
Raping women, I would say. That's pretty awful.
Okay. Who has he raped?
I can't say, I don't know any names.
Why to pause here, Steve, you can't overstate the significance of this. The economy.
While she's pregnant, it is her body, it's her choice. She should be able to do cocaine and fentanyl while she's pregnant at 9 months. If it's her choice, then yes. So does that affect you support that?
I'm laughing. I don't support that.
We don't know how she got pregnant. We don't know what situation she's in that she's taking these hard drugs that you're talking about. Maybe she's dealing with some and she has to take these drugs. Maybe she's on the street. Like, you don't know what's going on with somebody. And if we're saying, oh, we're going to start criminalizing people that are doing hard drugs like that, which is already happening.
While pregnant.
But putting the while pregnant is like, you're not addressing the real issue.
Economy was really the number one issue for voters, and one of the main reasons President Trump won the White House.
Exactly. These numbers.
Coca-Cola is getting a lot of attention for some of their sensitivity training with their employees. Your comment was that, in part, they're teaching some of their employees how to be, quote, less white.
Absolutely.
How the hell do you do that?
Well, I'd like to make the point that this is not just Coca-Cola that is engaging in this sort of activity.
I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah, it's a great example, and it's happening in corporations and in schools all across America, and they are effectively teaching people. Coca-Cola said, quote, how to be less white. They assume that things like being a perfectionist, engaging in or having a response to objectivity, having a neutral or a nuclear family. These are inherently extensions of
Exactly.
whiteness.
These numbers you see on the economy in this first term look very different than this. And it's not good overall. And again, what you see is much more negative among that youngest set of voters. How about just optimism about the future? Is it there? Is the country going in the right direction or the wrong direction? Again, overall, this is...
No, the swap market, it's down. 3 trillion liquidated from it today. Oh my God, what am I gonna do?
I love it. Nothing could make me happier. No one can give an answer why young people, why Generation Z should care about a stock market crash at all. If you're young and you care, you're a moron. You're being gaslit by boomers.
Overall,
at a certain...
this is similar to what we had in our own NBC poll a couple months back. Overall, 40 right track, 60 wrong track. Again, more pessimistic Gen Z. Now, where this gets...
Is there one turning point for you or a pivotal moment where you remember thinking, hey, maybe what I've been taught all my life isn't what I actually believe?
Whew. There were several, but I can think of one in particular. I had been in a meeting, and in these leftist organizations, what you do when you have a meeting is you start off with community agreements, typically. And you write these community agreements on the board, and it's sort of rules that you agree to before you go into these meetings. Everybody will state their pronouns, things like don't yuck my yum, or make space, take space. The coworker had gotten up and started writing these community agreements. She ended by saying, to all the white, cisgendered, heterosexual people in the room, don't speak at all. You've had the stage for long enough, or we're done listening to you. And I just looked around, and I saw all these heads that were just nodding in agreement. I went, oh, maybe I'm in the wrong room. Maybe this isn't right. I had gone to the head of the organization and said, hey, just a concern here. What's with the racist part? I thought we weren't the racist side. I thought we were the tolerant side. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, you just simply don't know how oppressed you are.
Now, where this gets interesting, though, is I keep saying Gen Z, more Trump hostile, more anti-Trump.
This is Amari, and she's got a big smile, and let's see what she's going to say. Workers should have the power. Oh, my goodness. Amari, that sounds awful socialist to me.
Well, I mean, think about it. Donald Trump is in office right now, and him and Elon Musk and all his billionaire friends are trying to run our country.
Yep.
And, meanwhile, if all the workers, the hundreds of millions of workers that make this country run, the workers should run the world, and we should be able to take control of our country and demand and fight back and not allow the billionaires to go back and take away our rights that we fought for in life.
I'm all for the workers, but
there's really part of Gen Z that's powering this and part that isn't, and it has to do with gender. We talk about gender gaps, but look at this, Kristen. Among men in Gen Z, 45-55 Trump's approval rating. That's what we saw with everybody. Among
that's
women.
a great speech. Now answer my question. That's that people put things on the internet that come back to bite them later.
Yes, that happens. Look, should you watch what you put on social media? Yeah, use your head. Don't be a Looney Tune out there.
That's all I'm asking.
Everybody among women. That's where he falls off the cliff.
And of course, the gender gap was so significant in the 2024 election, continues to be an important factor.
And we looked in 24, a lot of folks thought it might be bigger, and it wasn't in the older generations, it was here. And this is what really stands out. It's Gen Z, this side of the gender gap. Women, Gen Z, much more progressive, much more liberal. We're going to see
for me, when I think about what those definitions are, capitalism isn't, to me, it's an ideology of capital. It puts capital, the most important thing is the concentration of capital, and it means that we seek and prioritize profit and the accumulation of money above all else, and we seek it at any human and environmental cost.
More liberal. We're going to see this on issue after issue in any other group, any generation. So again, looking at Trump's approval rating, this is the percentage of people who approve of his job. And again, look, it's so consistent. Men across these generations, women, it's in the four. Look how much that stands out right there. And this extends to some personality, some issues. Just again, look at this. You have a favorable view of the Republican Party. All adults, 44. Gen Z men, look, it falls off a cliff with Gen Z women.
Totally that ideology is not sustainable and cannot be redeemed. But when we talk about ideas, for example, like democratic socialism, it means putting democracy and society first instead of capital first. It doesn't mean that you put other things last. It doesn't mean that the actual concept of capital as a society should be abolished or anything like that. But it's a question of our priorities. And right now, I think what we are reckoning with are the consequences of putting profit above everything else in society.
See it right there. And two more, Kristen. Do you agree? There are two genders. Big drop off for Gen Z women. And
men do not menstruate. Only women menstruate. Now you can call yourself whatever you want.
Menstruate, but trans men do menstruate.
No, they don't.
Non-binary people.
Only women.
Menstruating is not exclusive to women. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
So explain to me as to why my body menstruated.
If your chromosomes are XX, and you're young, you menstruate. If you're XY, you don't.
Correct, but what about trans men and non-binary?
They're not men.
We're including a whole group of people.
They're women dressed as men. You are not a man. You can pretend to be a man, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Live your life. Tell me what a man is.
Well, what's a man to you? You define a man for me.
You have chromosomes that are X and Y. That's what a man is.
So why are we just looking at the science of this as an
The
example?
science.
When we've learned sex and gender identity are they're completely different things.
They're not completely different.
They are completely different.
Completely different words.
Sex is what you're born with, the sexual reproductive organs you have. Gender is what you identify with. They're just completely
Well, I don't
different
accept
things.
that distinction. You have to argue for it. You're just giving a conclusion. You're just making it up. The people who hate the truth, are because they see the truth as hateful. If you want to identify in any way you can, you're free to do so. But it does not mean that the rest of us have to join that illusion. You disagree, I disagree with you, and so you call it hate. But there's no hate in my heart at all.